Hi everyone, I'm Harini Nunduri, a former product manager from LinkedIn. Today I'm here to talk about career transformation mindset. This topic is pretty close to my heart considering my background, which I'm going to talk about it in next slide. About me. So I'm an experienced program and product manager and a former engineer at LinkedIn. I have a passion for building products that delight users and help scale business. My passion towards career transformation mindset has been because of multiple career transformation opportunities I received at LinkedIn. I transitioned from test engineering to software engineering to product management, and currently I'm in program management. This experience of pivoting into different roles has helped me gain a lot of experience and learnings that I would love to share it with all the candidates who have aspirations to explore the career path that they are passionate about. In my free time, I love doing yoga, cooking, play veena, which is an Indian instrumental music, and also traveling in my spare time. Gardening is my newfound obsession. Okay. The agenda for today's talk would be covering four areas. One, we'll talk about framework for setting career transformation plan. And then two, we'll talk about how to find a right mentor. Three, we'll talk about tips and tricks of interview prep. And four, we'll wrap it up with a quick summary. The first one that I would like to double click on is a question that we should ask. Am I ready for career transformation? I guess it's pretty important for all of us to take a pause into our daily roles and responsibilities and think about what next. And when we think about what next, it's not about like short term, but I would stress on thinking about long term, meaning like what is my path after 5 years? Where would I want to be in the next 10 years? What is the market that is going to be in 10 years? What would be the demands in the market? How would I fit into that market? These are the questions I think we should ask ourselves so that we are prepared for the future. As part of that question, I would like to go over the framework that we can apply in terms of coming up with a plan that can actually enable us to prepare for the career transformation path. The first one would be dream role. Think about like you in your day-to-day life, you work with like different disciplines, right? You work with product managers, you work with engineering managers, directors, design, marketing. So you work with various people in your day-to-day life, right? And one question that you should think about is like, what is that one role that has like made you more intrigued, made you curious, inspired you, motivated you? Think about think about that dream role and see if that particular path would give you the courage to take risk and pursue that role. Because like once we set our mind towards a passionate role, we would give our best and go all out to make it happen. So definitely ask yourself, that is this role that is going to take like 400, 500, 1,000% of my energy to make it happen. Once you figure out your dream role, in this case, in my case, I was like pretty clear that I want to take a product management role because I've worked with fantastic product managers and they have inspired me in my day-to-day life, and they have like uh, set a great example in terms of the best practices and how like their work has been like so fantastic that for me it was like a dream role. It just became a dream role naturally. So my next step was around like identifying your strengths and weakness. So what does that mean? So when you pursue your dream role, it's very important to be very honest to yourself. Understand your strengths, understand your weaknesses for that particular dream role. How do you identify that? Well, like I would say, what I have done is I've interviewed everyone I work with, different disciplines, different roles, whoever I worked with them. I just went ahead and took their 15 minutes time and asked them like, hey, what do you think my strengths are? Hey, what do you think my areas of improvements are? And then I also like, if I was pretty comfortable to share about my dream role. So I kind of shared that, hey, I want to get into product management. Do you think like there are any areas that I need to focus on, because you have worked with more product managers? Why don't you give like best skills that you have seen in a different product managers that I can uh, observe and integrate into my skill set? And believe me, this exercise, it because this exercise comes with no burden of influencing your performance review, like your annual performance review. You had the freedom of taking the constructive feedback. You had the opportunity to learn your strengths or validate your strengths. Let's say I can think my strengths are ABC, but when I talk to my peers, they talk about other strengths which could be like DEF, and I was surprised because I didn't even know that those strengths existed in me. So it's an eye-opening experience in terms of validating your strengths and weaknesses from your peers, and maybe you should have a conversation with your manager as well. A lot of times this helps preparing the foundation for setting you up for your dream role. And then have a plan to leverage your strengths and work on improvements. Let's say in my case, when I had the interview, one of the two things that was brought up is around, hey, you might want to work on strategy framework. Hey, you might want to work on business acumen skills, because obviously I haven't done that in my current role in a full stretch. So it was pointed out, and I started like, I will and go over like how I prepped in the next slides, but I started working on those areas to make myself ready for the team role. I would now let's talk about finding a mentor. Where the reason why finding a mentor is so important is like, let's say once you identify your areas of improvement, yes, I can put a plan for myself and work towards it, but it's very important that you put the right plan. And in order to have a right career transformation plan, right learning plan, right skill sets that you can focus on, you really need a good mentor who can actually put you in the right direction. And I have uh, benefited a lot with mentors. I cannot stress enough on that. And also one thing about mentorship, a good mentor is a good mentor mentee relation goes hand in hand with both mentor and mentees involvement in the effort. Mentor is available for you to help out in the areas that you want them to help, but at the same time it's much bigger responsibility on a mentee to ask for the help, to ask for the right help. If you're not prepared on asking for the right help, your mentor will not be able to craft and draft and figure out like how they can help you. So in order to like leverage mentor, it is a higher responsibility on a mentee to prepare well and leverage their support. So I would definitely suggest that do a very good preparation when you approach mentor on why you need their help, what help do you need, be very specific, and help them understand what is needed out of them and what is needed out of this relation. And how do I find mentor? Again, I found mentors at work. So I just reached out to like a couple of product managers. Of course, not everyone would have time. I just pinged all the product managers I know, got references who I can approach. There were at least like 10 or 15 product managers who were willing to talk at least, and that really helped. And the other way I found mentors is on LinkedIn. I actually went on the LinkedIn site and searched for all the product managers. I didn't even know them. I just sent a note, hey, this is why I'm interested into this path. These are my strengths. These are my areas of improvements. I'm looking for a mentor. And my expectation from my mentor is to guide me to create a plan for my career transformation by helping me bridge the gap on my skill sets that are required for this role. And that's how in fact, I would say almost, if I've reached out to almost like 6 out of 10 people have responded back and helped me when I reached out for getting support as a mentor. So I would definitely say like this is like a very key step in terms of your career transformation plan. The next step, now you found a mentor who can put you in the right path. Now you know your strengths and areas of improvements. You are working with your mentor to create a plan on how you can bridge that gap. What next? The next is definitely like you need to now figure out like how do you get into that role. Now that you have a plan on your career transformation path, it is important to have a plan on the next step, which is like getting the role. And getting the role happens with lot of practice. How do you practice? One is interview prep, which applies for any role, as you generally people say, like you being on the role is one skill, doing really good is in that role, but interview prep is altogether a different skill. So you really need to like work on your interview prep in order to get into this role. Of course, there are companies that offer rotation programs, internships, etc. But I think all those roles expect an interview. So that's why like interview prep is a very, very, very important step to get closer to your dream role. How do you practice? It's very important to take as many mock interviews as possible, because the benefit of mock interviews is even if you're not really uh, doing well in that mock interview, you have the benefit of getting the feedback without the risk of losing the job opportunity. So that's like a huge helpful step as part of your career transformation plan. Do invest in as many mock interviews as possible, because you have done all the theory prep, which is like creating a plan, reading a lot of books, or probably like understanding the skill sets. But at the same time, it is very important to put into practice. And when you give a lot of mock interviews, each product manager, the feedback that you receive can actually be very helpful in terms of being very realistic of of where you need to work to on in order to crack the PM interview. And how the other ways to practice could be like if you're if you get a support from product manager, ask them if they're willing to help allow you to shadow them on their day-to-day job, because this again is very helpful. You shadow them, you go with them in their day-to-day meetings. You can take up like small tasks from them, like on the execution side, or probably you can help in writing PRDs, etc. But this is again like a very important move that can actually help you prepare for the interview, because when you actually give interview, you can actually bring all your experiences as a when you were shadowing a product manager, you can bring those experiences and try to leverage that in answering the questions during interview. And not just that, and you will be able to understand the role more deeply, because when you are in the role, it's altogether a different experience versus thinking about a dream role from a distance. So definitely like shadowing a product manager, if you can get that opportunity, I would vouch for it. Like go for it and learn as much as you can. Try rotation programs, as I mentioned. Like most of the companies, they prefer interviews to enter into that program, but it depends on company to company. Figure out if there are any rotation programs and give it a try. But overall, I would recommend like focus on strengthening core PM skills like analytics, business acumen, leadership strategy. Use different opportunities that you can have at your work or outside through mentors or other product managers, in order to like prepare for the mock interviews, or shadowing a product manager to learn and help improve on these core PM responsibilities. So now it comes to interviews. Now, a couple of steps in interviews, as for any role, like prepare your resume, cover letter, capturing key experiences from previous roles. This is very important for people who are trying to apply for a job, for a role that is not their current role. So this step is very important because let's say I'll go over my example. I have been an engineer before applying for product manager, but I had to prepare my resume so that it can actually talk about my experiences, that can actually convince the person who is looking at my resume that I could be a potential fit for product management. The way I did is like I looked at the core PM skills that they are interested in. Let's say leadership, execution. Well, you have done that in your previous roles. I led a team of test engineers in India and Bangalore. So I worked on mobile app project that actually spans across all the disciplines like PMM, market design, sales, tax, uh, engineering, of course, product, security, trust. So those experiences talks a lot about like the skill sets that they are looking for. So I could at least bridge the gap of few skill sets that they are looking for from my previous experiences. That's why I don't undermine your experience. Just leverage every single thing that you have done that could map to the skills that that particular role is looking for. And then the other way of getting the next step is basically like network with recruiters or employees in various roles at that company to get references on your resume. uh, as I mentioned, like when you reach out to people for mentorship, even if you don't get their help with like their time with getting a mentorship, you can at least ask them like, hey, this is my resume, will you be able to refer me into your company, or like, will you be able to put me in touch with the recruiter so that you can continue the conversation and work towards next steps of getting an interview. Don't lose any opportunity, don't lose any connection. Just leverage everyone in your network to make it happen. And when once you like clear, once you get when once your resume is picked and you're selected for the phone screen or interview, the important step is as a product manager, if you're applying for a product manager, a very important step definitely is like understand the company strategy, understand the company vision, understand the and like learn about all their wins, learn about where they fail, learn about potential improvements, the products. It's very important because when you actually go for the interview and when they talk about like their products, they should feel that you have done your homework. You know a lot about the company strategy. They should feel confident that you are a right fit for the role because you have very good hold of company's vision strategy. You understand the company's mission. So this is a very very important step, especially for a product manager roles. And then the final bullet that I would like to talk about, again, this applies to any role, is that do a good prep on questions for the hiring team, recruiter, because all the time the last question, any interviews or conversation ends with like, do you have any questions for us? Do really a good prep on what would be the good questions for the hiring team and recruiter. Remember, this is about putting your best self in front of the hiring team so that you convince them that you are a very good candidate for this role because of the homework you have done, because of the skill set that you have acquired, and because of the extensive knowledge that you have on the company strategy, vision, mission, and your point of view towards the company's future. So this is like very important for a product management role specifically. These This slide actually talks about all the online learning sites and books that I have learned. I have like went over. I have attended a couple of sessions. I've done mock interviews. So these resources did help me a lot in terms of like bridging the skills gap as well as preparing for the interview and understanding the core product management foundations. So I would definitely recommend like going over these books, reading these books thoroughly, maybe like 3 times, 4 times, up to you how much prep you want to do, and also like these online learning sites where you can actually hear from a lot of product managers, do a lot of mock interviews, get more visibility into all the interview questions, interview prep. I would wrap it up by saying you can do it. I think as I started off this presentation, as I mentioned, when it is dream role, the you know that this is your dream role when you know you're so passionate that you are willing to take any risk. You're okay to fail. You're okay to hear no from everyone. Still, you're positive and determined to make it happen. And if you have the right attitude and extreme passionate about making it happen, you can do it. And I would say practice. Theory is one part, but putting it into reality and practicing is a very important step, because once you practice, your interview is like a breeze, because you're bringing your practical knowledge and learning experiences in your interview. In order to like make all this happen, have a solid career transformation plan. As I mentioned, like figure out what your strengths, leverage your strengths, figure out your areas of improvement, have a plan for your areas of improvement, get mentors support in terms of guiding you in the right direction, and figure out like your network, leverage your network for interviews and do mock interviews, shadow a PM role. Don't lose any single opportunity. Create a plan and try to make it, try to make best out of it. Thank you. With this, I would wrap it up, and I hope this was helpful, and good luck to everyone who is looking for career transformation. As I mentioned, you can do it. Keep the positive attitude, and you can do it. Thank you.